Grunty, or Gruntilda Winky Bunyan, is the main villain in both Banjo-Kazooie and also Banjo-Tooie. If a friend of yours wanted a very quick and brief summary of the story, then you could just say that Gruntilda tried to steal Banjo's little sister Tootie's beauty, but Banjo and Kazooie stop her. That, however, would only be the surface level. In this video, we will take the deepest dive into absolutely and completely everything surrounding Grunty. Her life and backstory, her experiences, her feelings, her reasons for her actions, her motivations, as well as her goals and intentions. And of course everything inside and outside of her empire. After this video you will have gained a lot of insight and a better understanding regarding the witch and her profession. So let's start! Gruntilda's early life. Her childhood was a very miserable one with negativity everywhere. In Banjo-Kazooie, one of her three sisters, Gruntilda, the one who's against her and wants to see her defeated, reveals stories and facts about Grunty. There's even a list with all of them on the internet. The reason why Gruntilda seems trustworthy is because she sprinkles in nice and cool things about her sister too. Why would she lie about good things? Especially if she hates her. So Gruntilda seems honest, and in this video we will believe that she's telling the truth. Also, the things she says just make a lot of sense. Let's dive into that deeper. According to Gruntilda, Gruntilda was bullied. Ugly Grunty's nickname was Cauldron Butt at witch school. Which, you know, she is pretty big indeed, so that's just really believable. The only thing she's ever won was the sweatiest socks competition at witch school. There are a lot of gross and disgusting stories about her, in fact, most of them are. And while we never get to see her eating spider pancake, drinking a camel spit milkshake, winning competitions with dirty undies, having them hang from her bedroom ceiling and cuddling with them, she really likes dirty undies, doesn't she? We do witness her pulling out a massive booger in the intro cutscene. How do I know it's massive? Rare designed no model for it, but we do get this super loud sound effect after she threw it. It must have been huge. Grunty's best friend at witch school was Betty Hetty, Sweaty Betty, Saggy Maggie. Sounds like some outsider, most likely making her an outsider as well. Similar to this poor guy called Dirty Birdie, Undead Ed, Greasy Grant was her first and only boyfriend. So she had a very difficult childhood, and we all know what that means, right? There are a lot of papers and studies showing that being a victim of bullying has negative effects, and that the victims often experience increased anxiety, depression, antisocial behavior, or aggression and violence. And I would argue that torturing Tootie, imprisoning Chinjos, killing Chinjos, King Chingaling and Bottles, and trying to kill Banjo and Kazooie and everyone on their side is pretty aggressive. First I asked ChatGPT, but of course we want evidence and real data here. So I asked about its sources and examined them. And yes indeed, there is more though. The overcompensating does not stop here. My lazy sister often sleeps on a pile of treasure, the dirty hag. She's really proud of her broomstick. It's a top of the range super gutlifter pro. So she's shallow and superficial too. She was bullied in school and now she's overcompensating for that and wants to show people how great she is with her shallow, superficial, materialistic stuff. How does she have so much money though? Well, let's take a look at one more Gruntilda quote. Although she's dim, she attended Cauldron College. Which makes a lot of sense as well. This is super believable, and here's why. Gruntilda is obviously a very skilled witch, not only being able to use very powerful and deadly spells, but even being capable of creating portals to other very far away places. She could have learned those things at the witch school that Gruntilda mentioned though, along with riding her broomstick and using crystal balls. I think at Cauldron College, her course of study was most likely economy, management, something IT related, and or chemistry. Why those? It's time to look at Gruntilda's empire. Gruntilda is a grown-up now and her studies at Cauldron College bear fruit. She is a super successful businesswoman, managing her lair, Treasure Trove Cove, Garbage Disposal Clanker's Cavern, Rusty Bucket Bay, Grunty Industries, Witchy World, Glitter Gulch Mine, Hailfire Peaks, Jolly Roger's Lagoon, and probably more. Each of those places deserve further inspection. Gruntilda's lair is probably her home. This is where she brews, picks her nose, cuddles with her dirty undies, and as I think this person on Reddit nailed pretty accurately, Set up warps to certain locations so she can visit them easily and without long travel times. Are they not her own simulated worlds that she created and that exist in a different universe? No, because Bottles is there, and Mambo, and the Chinchos. There's a painting and a big statue of herself, confirming her need for boasting and bragging, which we established earlier. Mambo's Mountain. You might wonder why she would want to visit Mambo's Mountain, and why she hasn't destroyed him and his home yet. Those are really easy to answer questions. Gruntilda and Mambo used to be in romantic contact with each other. As you can see in the Game Over cutscene, Mambo approaches Grunty with a flower, saying, "Grunty nice, come back to Mambo's skull, yes? Come back to Mambo's skull." It's unclear whether they were only dating or in a relationship. Gruntilda says that Grunty has had only one boyfriend ever, Dirty Birdie, Undead Ed, Greasy Grant, depending on the save file. But let's be open-minded here, because there are a few things to take into consideration. First, Gruntilda can indeed have the intention of telling the truth, but despite that, maybe she just doesn't know everything about Grunty. I mean, how would she? Do you know completely and absolutely everything about your siblings and friends? Nobody knows 100% everything about a person, no matter how close they are. And speaking of being close, Gruntilda and Brentilda are not close at all. Brentilda creeps through the lair, hiding from her sister, because Grunty probably knows that she's against her. And even if she wasn't, even if Brentilda was on Grunty's side, Grunty obviously enjoys killing sisters who are in her team. She did this twice at the end of Banjo-tooie. Minghella and Blobelda did not even do anything wrong. Grunty just enjoys killing, even if it's her own loyal sisters who actively help her. So again, first, Brentilda is running away and hiding from Grunty. They are not in a lot of contact and therefore, of course, naturally and logically does not know everything Grunty does in her private life. So this "she only had one boyfriend" could be wrong, and Grunty had more. Second scenario, Brentilda is right, and Grunty and Mambo were only dating. And the third possibility? Mambo was this one boyfriend. I mean, Undead Ed? He literally lives in a skull. His head is only a skull. Greasy and Dirty would fit too. There's no shower or bathtub in his room. And I've never seen soap or shampoo at his lake there. Grunty left him, but still likes him enough to keep him alive. Mambo, however, wants to take revenge and sides with Banjo and Kazooie. Treasure Trove Cove. As a skilled witch, Grunty enchanted not only some doors, but the entire lair. And even places connected to her lair. That's why she can see what you do with her crystal ball, whether you die or collect a chiggy. As she's very greedy and hungry for money, she likes this place, because it's full of riches and treasures. She literally says that one of those gold chiggies was hers. Level 3 is a dark, disgusting and very sinister place. Clanker's Cavern. This is one of many places where Grunty's toxic waste goes. This one though is extraordinarily horrendous. It truly is a sight of terror. Not because of these mutant crabs or the grill chompers, but because of a certain poor creature Gruntilda condemned to a life in total and absolute misery. While in Banjo-Kazooie beta footage we see Clanker in a healthy, organic state, in the final game we see what Grunty did to him. She turned him into a half-mechanical garbage grinder, chained up and confined in a small pool of dirty, toxic waste sewer water. And he's still alive. His body is half organic and half mechanic, making him a giant cyborg whale shark. There truly are fates worse than death. Bubblegloop Swamp. Considering Grunty's food choices, salted slug, cold worm juice, spider pancake, red bagels, tadpoles, slug stew, maggot pie, cockroaches and so on, a swamp is probably a great place when she's hungry. Free CZ Peak. Winter Vacation. A detail that pretty much confirms this to me, Grunty's scarf has the same pattern as the giant snowman's, with the only difference that, since she's evil and probably prefers a darker tone, hers has gloomier colors. Gobi's Valley. An ancient culture with living mummies and probably even more interesting magic. A great place to learn. Mad Monster Mansion. Could be her old family house or a vacation home. Though I've never seen smelly socks, rotting fish or dirty undies hanging from a bedroom ceiling, so it's probably not her house. Rusty Bucket Bay, back to business. This whole facility belongs to Gruntilda. She exports goods with the Rusty Bucket or HMS Gruntilda and makes money. The water is so polluted that Banjo and Kazooie lose their oxygen bubbles twice as fast when diving, and in normal speed even when they are merely swimming on the surface. Click clock wood. Could be Grunty experimenting with time magic. Though not everyone considers Grunty's revenge canon and part of the official timeline, the time travel skills she uses in that game were probably obtained thanks to the practice in Click Clock Wood. These are the places we can visit in Banjo-Kazooie, but Gruntilda's empire is a lot bigger than that. During the events in Kazooie, there was already a lot more happening behind the scenes. Let's look at the banjo-tooie worlds. I don't think she has much influence on Mayhem Temple. Though it is about an ancient culture Grunty could learn from in order to improve her magic, when you play the level, there's just no Grunty influence in the air. She's just not to be felt. Also, the world is located right next to Master Jiggy-Wiggy's temple, which opposes Grunty and helps us. So I feel like it's one of few places that haven't been claimed by her yet. The cheat code chamber in Mayhem Temple actually kind of confirms that, because why would Grunty allow us to use cheat codes? If the first level was owned by her, then she would just get rid of the cheats. Though you could say the same about her own lair, which she definitely owns, and look what's going on there. In addition to that, Mayhem Temple is one of only 3 levels without a train station, with the train most likely being owned by Grunty, as it goes through Witchy World, Grunty Industries and most others. So Mayhem Temple is probably not ruled by her. Glitter Gulch Mine, however, is very different. There is a lot of evidence suggesting that the mine belongs to Gruntilda. Let's look at all of them. But first, let's think about this logically. While Mayhem Temple doesn't really have any goods to export or money to make, Glitter Gulch Mine has tons and tons of diamonds. Tons of diamonds. Just look at all of these huge mountains of diamonds. While for Rusty Bucket Bay she needed a huge ship and for Grunty Industries a huge building, in Glitter Gulch Mine she can just force unpaid workers into slavery and to bring her diamonds. No costs and highest income. It's easily the most lucrative business of all of them. So that's why it makes sense. Now the evidence. There are rails leading directly and exclusively to Witchy World, which does belong to Grunty. Then pipes from Jolly Roger's Lagoon lead here, and we will talk about that level in a bit. Additionally, the train is here, which leads to Witchy World as well as Grunty Industries. Next is Witchy World. I don't think I need to explain this, but since this is an in-depth video, it's called Witchy World. Grunty's the one who made the rule that no food can be taken off the premises. And she's also the one who enchanted the entrance and exit to magically take it from you. Grunty herself has a tent in the park. She's the one managing the minigame. For comparison, in the kickball minigame in Mayhem Temple, Astoni does the explaining and countdown. And she's the one getting paid when you buy permission to enter certain places. In Jolly Roger's Lagoon, she very clearly rules as well. She installed pipes there with toxic waste coming from Grunty Industries, making the residents in JRB mutated and sick. But of course she doesn't care about that. What Grunty wants is tax money from the citizens, getting rid of her toxic waste, get some water for Glitter Gulch Mine as mentioned earlier, and sell fan merch? Well, with all of that outrageous and deadly pollution, I understand that these are not selling. And would you look at that, not only dumping her trash into their swimming water from Grunty Industries, but also taking their fresh and clean water for Grunty Industries, giving them her trash and taking their goods. So yes, Grunty also controls this place. World number 5 is Pterodactyland. Except for the train station, I cannot think of a single sign that Grunty does much here. She certainly knows about it, since she installed her rails here, but otherwise I suppose she doesn't see anything valuable in this level. It doesn't have tons of diamonds like Glitter Gulch Mine, or tons of water and tax-paying workers and pirates like Jolly Roger's Lagoon. There are no profitable resources. But since her theme park seems pretty dead and people love dinosaurs, she could turn Pterodactyland into a zoo, which would probably be booming. She may be a magic and industry genius, but I don't think she understands entertainment. Anyways, next. Grunty Industries. A huge fabric handling different tasks, but if one thing is for certain, then that it produces an insane amount of toxic waste. Toxic gas, toxic liquids, toxic enemies, but that's what she wants to get rid of. What she wants to produce is power for B.O.B, the life-sucking machine, and Big O pants. Yep, we're back to Grunty's love for underpants. This has to be a fetish. World 7 is Hailfire Peaks, and it's very obviously owned by Gruntilda. Her train rails run through both the fire and the ice side, where she installed a huge oil drill in order to, exactly, make money. Also something I find very interesting, Gruntilda tells us when she was younger, Grunty used to have a baby dragon as a pet. Now she's older and there are two big, or at least relatively big, dragons in Hailfire Peaks, who, instead of eating locally, order from and fly to Witchy World to eat. It could just be a coincidence, but I believe that either Chili Billy or Chili Willy is or was Grunty's pet, and they still get along, since they come to her to eat. The 8th level is Cloud Cuckoo Land, a huge mountain floating in the sky. Grunty has some eyeball plants up here and her pot of gold with a minigame. Otherwise she probably doesn't see a use for it, so there's not a lot of her to be noticed. And then the last one, Cauldron Keep. In Tooie's intro cutscene, Blobelda says, "So back to our castle we must go." Now one could of course interpret this our as Mingella's, Blobelda's and Grunty's. After all, Grunty Industries, which is obviously named after Grunty, is also located behind that wall her two sisters opened. But then why did Grunty not know about B.O.B in this later cutscene? Come on sisters, tie my leg. What's the plan to get my body back? She's standing right next to the machine, and there are only two super big buttons saying blow and suck. So she clearly has no idea what this huge machine does. She doesn't seem to have ever been here. Grunty Industries is right next to Cauldron Keep though. Has she never been at her own factory? I guess she built and now organizes and manages it from afar. Or maybe she met Klungo, her manager, and he's the one doing all of the paperwork and so on. Anyways, it's time to take a look at Grunty's, or let's just say the Winky Bunyan's, empire. On the map of the entire island. A map of the entire island, you might ask? Yes, right here in Cloud Cuckoo Land. It's been there for more than 20 years. But it's too pixelated and low quality, I can't recognize anything, you might say now. Except for Hailfire Peaks of course, but I was thinking the same thing for most of my life. Until recently, when I did some research on the internet, and found out that some people did some amazing work on this. At first I found these two here, and while I appreciate the attempts, there's a better one. The most impressive and astonishingly accurate one is this one right here. Wow. The work and research that was put into this, I really respect it a lot. Thank you, Mist Foxcoon. I hope I said that right. We can actually follow along the track that Hag 1 left behind perfectly. So let's do that. And while we do, let's also simultaneously complete this already amazing map. So Jinja Village is just such a perfect fit. The shape, the form, this green spot here, which is the top of this wall, this is with absolute certainty Jinja Village. And if from here we look down right, then we even get to see this roundish wall. It's all so perfect. And we all know what happens if we go in here, right? Exactly, Spiral Mountain. So we can add Spiral Mountain to this map. If, however, with the green spot behind us, we look down left, we see another entrance. If we enter, it leads us to Wooded Hollow, which is exactly what Mist Foxcoon suggests. With Mayhem Temple right in front of us, we have Bottle's home to our right. And if inside Bottle's home we go right again, then guess where it leads us? Back to Jinjo Village. Now between Mayhem Temple and Bottle's home, a door leads us to Plateau, where, as you can see, something quite peculiar is happening. On Banjo's right is Pine Grove. And on Banjo's left is Clifftop. According to the map, it should be the opposite though. According to the map, Pinegrove should be left and Clifftop should be right. Plateau could be here, which is where the loading zone is. And also it's exactly and perfectly between Pinegrove and Clifftop. So the location is absolutely and 100% perfect. All we need is a direction change, but that can easily be explained with the spiral staircase. Even this shape here on the map is perfectly fitting the shape of plateau. Some people believe it to be here, here or here. By the way, when it comes to these clouds, they only mean that you're up very high. There can be water below, like here on Clifftop, or there can be land below as well, like here in Cauldron Keep. These clouds only tell us that we're in a very high location, but we don't know what's below. It could be water or land, which means plateau could be here, here or here. This makes the most sense to me since, as I said, the location is just perfect. It's perfectly in between. But I'm fine with believers of it being over here or here. They are a bit weird because of their locations being shifted so far towards one direction and being so far away from the other one. But they are still better than this one. This one is just crazy. It makes zero sense. The paths overlap or cross, it's beyond weird. But no matter which one of these three you believe in, at least one loading zone covers an insane distance, which we don't get to see. If you believe in this version, then Clifftop is crazy far away. And if you believe in that version, then Pinegrove is crazy far away. I will put Plateau in this spot because it's centered so nicely. And just like in Cauldron Keep, there's land below. In this case, Mayhem Temple and Wooded Hollow. So we just walked up the highest staircase in the universe for many miles and many hours and got a direction change. Alright, Wooded Hollow and Mayhem Temple are now so far below us that we cannot even see them anymore. As this staircase led us above the clouds and we got a direction change, so that Pinegrove is right and Clifftop is left. So with Pinegrove and Clifftop established, we can elaborate further and add Witchy World, as well as Hailfire Peaks and Jolly Roger's Lagoon, which does clearly show a staircase downwards, with a very high likelihood leading us to this spot. With a dead end on this side, we go on through the second digger tunnel, which leads us to Wasteland with Pterodactyland here. Perfect. And the bubble to Cloud Cuckoo Land over there. We even get the shape of the walls. Perfect. As you probably know, the springy shoes take us to Quagmire, which is right next to Grunty Industries and Cauldron Keep. And with that, we figured out the map. Huge thanks again to Mist Foxcoon. I find their map 100% perfect, and they probably omitted Plateau because it has multiple possible locations. Amazing job. Now we get a great overview on Grunty's empire. As we established earlier, Cloud Cuckoo Land, Cauldron Keep, Grunty Industries, Pterodactyland, Witchy World, Glitter Gulch Mine, Jolly Roger's Lagoon, and Hailfire Peaks, in addition to many more, such as certain banjo-kazooie places, are all controlled by, let's just say, the witches for now. Whereas on the opposing side, we have Wooded Hollow with Master Chiggy-Wiggy, including Mayhem Temple, Ginger Village ruled by King Jingaling, and the Moles with Chamchers as an apparently important military leader, unless it's just a costume and he's faking it. These three seem to live in harmony, as all of them help us and there is no sign of war. Bottle's home is next to the Chincho King's palace even. And we find out that the Chinchos and Moles regularly play kickball together. I don't think the Romans and Barbarians played any sport together. If you deeply hate and want to destroy or conquer each other, then you don't play games together. So, the Chinchos and the Moles are friends. Let's call Master Chiggy-Wiggy the Chinchos, the Moles, as well as Banjo and Kazooie the blue team, whereas the Witches are the green team. While it's unclear who was on the island first, it is clear that those two teams don't get along. Though Spiral Mountain from Grunty's Revenge with the fallen Ginger head suggests that it used to be where Grunty's head is now, but she removed it and conquered the place maybe? Now I've been saying Team Green, but who really is the leader there? Everything is managed by Grunty, and while she didn't know about the life-sucking machine in Cauldron Keep, she was the one pressing the button, and on the tank it even says Grunty's life force. With the phrase, "Come on sisters, tie my leg, what's the plan to get my body back?" It's obvious that she had no idea what this gigantic, huge machine right next to her was for. It even said suck on a button and Grunty's life force on the tank. So she really had no clue at all. But it was clearly for her. The whole entire thing was built just for her. Now this clearly shows that Grunty has some sort of authority and leadership position here. So the most likely scenario is that Grunty is the #1 highest ruler, authority and boss in Team Green, and ordered her lower assistant sisters to build something that increases her power, strengthens her, or in case she loses, revives her. She left that task to them and managed her many own businesses she has. And now that it's done, she has no more use for them and kills them. so they never start asking for a raise or promotion. She wants all the money, success, power and territory for herself. No sharing. With their death, there is no more Team Green. It's now Team Blue versus Grunty. Something rather peculiar happened to Team Blue though. In this cutscene, Grunty calls King Jingling a traitor. A traitor. So they worked together in some way? In the end, it's important to remember that we, the fans, are trying to invent and put all of the sense into the Banjo universe. As Greg Males, designer of banjo-tooie, said in an interview, none of the dialogue, I don't think any of the dialogue was scripted. It certainly wasn't written down. Most of it was made up as we went along. That also explains the authorities from Grunty's text here. Authorities? Grunty is the authority. So there you have it, folks. It might be weird of me to say this at the end of such a long in-depth video, but maybe we shouldn't overthink things and just enjoy these wonderful games. Tooie ends with Gruntilda's head being used as a soccer ball, and that's almost it. Only 2 more little inputs. During the 2 years in which Grunty is stuck beneath that boulder, the events of Grunty's revenge happen, where she puts her spirit into a machine that Klungo built for her. She kidnaps Kazooie and travels back in time. But Banjo travels back in time as well with the help of Mambo, rescues Kazooie, and together they stop her. Then, 8 years after Banjo-Tooie, the events of Nuts and Bolts happen. After a lot of vehicle building and driving, Banjo and Kazooie beat Grunty in a competition that Log, Lord of Games, the grand creator of all video games, set up for them. The punishment for the loser, in this case Gruntilda, is to work in his game factory for all eternity, getting rid of her forever, despite her living as only a head and living as a ghost abilities. Now she's truly gone for all times. Unless? Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then there's a like button for you and consider subscribing. Bye!